Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
Yo, welcome to episode 30 of Two Bob's Cast. We're an A to Z rock and metal podcast going from A to Z, talking about all the bands, their discographies. Today we land once again on our Big Time Rush, I think is what we're doing today.
Old Time Rush.
Old Time Rush. Yeah, right. Once again, I'm here with my partner, Mr. H. What's up, Mr. H? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm a little tired. OH.
I-O.
We're all obviously happy Buckeye fans here.
Yeah.
In the frigid north coast of Ohio. It's -1, I think, right now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The feels like is like -17.
Feels like ass.
Stupid stuff.
Stupid cold.
All right. Well, once again,
I'm good.
We're here with our bud, Brian Hendrickson from Talking Into Infinity. We were able to string him again for one more episode of Rush. So, hey, Brian, what's going on? How you doing?
I want to change the name. Bobbing Into Infinity. No?
I mean, it's not my podcast. I'm all for it. I say do it.
Well, it's not mine's either. You joked. Mine. I just asked, are the real feel of our Google upstairs, and it said -17 is the real feel. So,
oh, my God.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
tad nippy.
Keep an eye on your pets. Call your parents, whatever. Oh, my goodness.
That's what I was going to say. We were talking about our pets last night and just how they act so differently depending on the dogs. Like, I have 2 little dogs, and they want nothing to do with outside. They woke me up like 5 times last night because they go out. They're like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Come in, don't go. And then, like,
I'm just going on the floor next time, dude. I'm not going.
Right. And then, your dog, Mr. H, you said, she wanted to be out all the time.
Yeah. She runs around like a nut. I'm like, let's go. It's cold out here. What are you doing? But then she's squatting down and she's like lifting the paws up one after another because it's cold. But then when she's running, she's good, I guess. I don't know. She's running around like a crazy.
And Ripley, what's going on with him? He's loving it, or?
Yeah, he every time he comes back in, his whole nose is covered in snow and ice. But now that it's this cold, he doesn't really hang out there too long. So, but he gets so stir crazy and bored inside, which means all he wants to do is try to get food all the time. So that's
sounds like John Novak.
Yeah.
What's up, John? How you doing? Welcome. He's got an IO for us for the Buckeyes and their national championship win.
Yes, sir.
Loving it. It was a great game last night. I'm glad we pulled it out. Of course, it was probably more interesting than it needed to be, but
sure.
But it makes it fun, I guess, especially when you win in the end. So,
and Notre Dame is frauds. I called them frauds. I don't know about 9,000 times last night. That was my favorite word of the day. Frauds.
All right. Well, unfortunately, sorry, all our viewers out there that have tuned in for whatever we said. New Rush or whatever.
Old Time Rush.
Yeah, whatever. We're not going to be doing that. We're going to be just doing regular old Rush.
Regular old Rush.
So we did albums 1 to 9 last time, and this time we're going to pick right up after Signals. And with that, Mr. H, what's next?
Yes, we ended with Signals, and now we move on to Grace, Under Pressure. April 12th, 1984. 8 songs on this one. They decided not to work with Terry Brown for the first time in their career. They did put a tribute to him in the liner notes. They parted on good terms, though the split was difficult for both. Terry Brown didn't do anything wrong, and they acknowledged that, but it was time for them to do something a little different. So this one has, as they picked up on the synthesizer use, this one has even more synthesizer accentuation. It's weird that Alex Lifeson, the hater of synths, there's more on that later, that he really was, it got pretty bad there for a minute with him and Geddy about the use of synths and how he was like, please no more. But he called this album the most satisfying of all the records. I don't know, I don't get it, but maybe at the time that's how he felt. The video for The Enemy Within, this is something I didn't know, I thought was interesting, became the Canadian music channel Much Music's first video ever aired. So I guess makes sense, considering Rush's popularity at the time. I guess it's between them and Loverboy, right? So yeah, probably as to who was going to be the first video. So I did not know that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. My favorites on this one are Just an Early Warning, Red Sector A, The Enemy Within is a great song. Between the Wheels I liked a lot too. I didn't like Red Lenses. It was kind of a weird song. I just wasn't into that one a whole lot. But otherwise, this album, I like the overall feel of this album. It kind of had a more subdued but not quite dark feel to it. But I just like the whole feel of the whole record, really. But I also found that I like this a lot more now than I used to. Listening to it, I'm like, why didn't I like this more? I don't know why I didn't get into this a little bit more. I mean, 1984, maybe it was just too much Motley Crue and Bon Jovi or whatever. I don't know, but this album's good. It's solid. What did you think of Grace Under Pressure, Brian?
Well, this was my first, I know we were going to probably talk about concerts too, so this was my first foray into seeing Rush, was this Grace Under Pressure tour. This is kind of in my heyday of, actually, I remember this is one of the things I did buy on vinyl with my own money. And Gary Moore was the opener. And it was one of those things one of those things at the time where you're like, just as a kid, you're like, you just can't even fathom the idea of like going to see a band like Rush live, like, like, I don't know, almost like a little kid with Santa Claus. Like, is this real? Like, I mean, that's how excited. Yeah, that's how excited
at that time.
To see a Rush concert at that time, just because they're so
15, 16.
Yeah. So by the time I bought this, almost close to 16, but yeah, I turned 16, December of '84.
Nice.
I turned 16, but yeah, I mean, just incredible album. I loved it from the get-go. I mean, it's a very, like you said, it's a very different kind of album. Maybe part of why Alex said that is because they did get rid of Terry Brown, or I don't want to say get rid of, but it's maybe a little bit being more on their own here. Just an Early Warning. I remember the first time I heard this single, I was like, man, I loved it. There's a subtle use of keyboards in most of these. They don't really overpower them. After Image, great song. Enemy Within, go back to, that is what they call part 3 of the Fear trilogy, by the way, for those scoring at home. One of my favorite Rush songs of all time, Body Electric. I love that song. Kid Gloves is great. Red Lenses, yeah, that's kind of jazzy, sort of a jazzy, bluesy kind of thing, isn't it? It's a little bit, so I could see maybe why you don't like that one.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. But yeah, it did kind of stuck out as being a little too different than what else was there.
But what I like about this kind of string that we're on here is 8 songs. And as we get deeper into this into this podcast, you're going to hear me, and I'm sure you and Bob, all 3 of us, go, let's cut the songs down. I don't think there's a skipper on here. Just a very unique album in the way that Alex started approaching guitar. It's a very Police kind of a thing, playing all those sort of those almost a bit of a jazz influence in some of those chords he's playing. They just all sort of ring out, and they sort of accent rather, as opposed to like playing a bunch of riffs, which is what 70s Rush was based on, right? So it's just a weird new way of supporting and forming songs. And I got Grace Under Pressure. Oh, are we supposed to do the rating now too?
Yeah, Mr.
Oh, yeah. My bad. I had this as 3 out of 10. We're doing 10 the second half here. I have this as 3 as a B+. My bad.
Okay, we're just about almost even. Then I got it as 3 also, and I'm going to give Grace Under Pressure an A-.
All right. Yeah, I pretty much following right along with you guys. This is awesome. Now, I will say, just to kind of set this up, just kind of reminding everybody, I don't have any like preconceived notions with any of these albums. I have never listened to any of them. Basically, was the first time I listened to all these for the podcast. So I had all my experience with Rush happened previous to um, even Signals. I think Signals I only listened to a little bit any other time. So I listened to one each of these albums one time. So forgive me if I'm way off what you guys think on certain things. Again, I'm just basing it off of one listen, except for Grace Under Pressure, which when I was done listening to everything, I came back to this and listened to it repetitively over and over. It just really hit with me, especially the the first side of the album. I think it just starts off so strong, and all those first, I want to say first 6 songs, I think are phenomenal. The last couple, I think Red Lenses, you guys mentioned, it's a little bit of a different feel, but man, I just love how dark this album is. It's so nice. The sounds just sound good. I've been actually when falling to sleep, I've been putting it on at the beginning and kind of falling asleep to the music. It just is really relaxing. But favorites for sure, Distant Early Warning is phenomenal. Red Sector A. After Image is really, really good too. An Enemy Within. Kid Gloves, man, that's a great song. I feel like I heard that one before. But excellent album. This one actually is number 2 for me of the back half. Just really hit with me. I really, really, wanted to keep coming back to it. I guess that's the benefit of these type of albums is I've not had all the time to listen to it that you guys have. So to me, it's like something brand new. So I've gone back to it, and I probably will continue to listen to it. I really, really like it. I have it about a B+, but number 2 out of 10 for the back half.
All right. On to Power Windows. Well, first, John says Red Lenses is a little like Steely Rush for him, which that makes a lot of sense. 13-year-old him didn't dig it so much, but 30-year-old him started to really like it. So now I want to know what 50-year-old him thinks. But
yeah,
if he's gone and reverted back the other way. The next up, Power Windows, October 21st, 1985. So the very next year. Still putting out an album a year. 8 songs again, as we just mentioned. This is Rush and Peter Collins. They work with Peter Collins quite a few times here coming up. This one, to me, has a very dated mid-'80s electronic sound to it. What is that? Very Beverly Hills Cop, Miami Vice, Starship kind of sound that doesn't have much depth and I don't really care for. I've read that this is one of those albums that gets better with repeat listens and is deeper than one would think. I might be in that category. It's too mid-'80s pop and not rock enough for me. Not enough guitar at all. I was really trying to hear some guitar in there, and it was almost hard to find. It's kind of a dark pop rock, if that makes sense. That's what I wrote down. Like Manhattan, Marathon, Midwest Dreams, Mystic Rhythms. They kind of have that same kind of sound to them. It seems like about half the songs just kind of sound like variations of the same thing. And so that's what I kind of took away. I didn't listen to this album much when it came out, so this was kind of a fresh re-listen for me. Nothing really sticks out as a favorite for me on this one, but there's also really nothing worth skipping. This is it's one of those totally mid albums for me. This is nothing really grabs me that I feel like I have to come back to, but it's not terrible. Like if it was on from the beginning, I wouldn't make a whole lot of effort to turn it off. Obviously, being Rush, they have their sound. You know that it's them. But there's really nothing on here that really kind of sticks out to me. I have this as a C, and I have this as number 7 out of the 10 of this second half. What did you think of Power Windows, Brian?
Oh, you and I are way far apart on this one, buddy.
I figured we would be. I told Bob before the podcast, I think I have a good handle on what you like about Rush, and I think we were going to be kind of far apart on some of these.
So I was insanely lucky. So after, waiting, I don't know, 3-4 years to finally see them, once I got into them, I immediately went out and got to see the Power Windows tour as well.
Who opened that one?
First time I heard Big Money and saw the video, I was absolutely hooked. I love the I just think these are huge, massive songs, and the production makes them even bigger. Seeing them live makes them even bigger. I mean, into Grand Designs. I love that keyboard intro on that Manhattan Project. The drumming on Marathon. I mean, what he has to do on that, and bass is absolutely ridiculous. Territories is great. Middletown Dreams is great. The only one I kind of think is a little bit goofy is a Motion Detector. But Mystic Rhythms, that was amazing to hear him play that live. I just said this great laser show, and you just felt like you were being just like sort of transported, to a different part of their earth or something, which is kind of what the song, feels like. Anyway, I don't know. This is just, to me, Rush making huge, big songs, and when they do that, I don't think anyone can touch them. I do understand what you're saying about how sonically, I guess it can feel dated. Also, like, there's not a lot of differentiation in the tones and whatnot, even though you do get a lot of sounds. It's a little bit tinny, I guess is the word, even though there is bass in there. The way it's mixed is pretty 80s. And Peter Collins, he did what, I don't know, didn't he do some Queensryche too? He did 8 million of those kind of bands, I think.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. I don't know where he was.
Yes, maybe Peter Gabriel or something too. But yeah, Power Windows. I don't know. It still sounds as good to me today as it's the first time I had it on cassette and damn near wore it out. I have that as my number one from this era, and I give this one a big fat A+.
Wow. Yeah, he nailed it with Queensryche. He did do some Queensryche.
Well, I don't know if we've lost Mr. H, but hopefully he'll come back in here in a second.
Here I am. What?
But yeah, Power Windows, I'm more along with you, Brian. I again, first time I ever heard it, basically just this last couple weeks. And I absolutely love it. I think it's phenomenal. The sound of it, maybe the synthesizer thing is what I like. I guess this portion of Rush's category or catalog, it just hits for me. As soon as this thing hits with the big money,
yep.
It just feels like huge. Like it's like a big production. It's like it just hits you in the face. It's so much. And it just keeps on going. I love Manhattan Project, Marathon, Territories. All these songs are really good. As much as I keep going back to the previous record with Grace Under Pressure, I like this one a little bit more even. So I'm with you, Brian. This is number one for me. And it's not an A+. It's probably still more along like B-. I still like some of those older albums better. But it's pretty damn good, and was pretty shocked by how much I liked it. So
me too.
It's a good album, and I still don't think we have Mr. H back, so I don't know what's going on with him. Oh, there he is. Here's Mr.
Hello.
H. He's back. How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay.
I didn't restart. I didn't do anything, so hopefully
it just popped you back in.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, to give you a little bit of update, me and Brian.
Yeah, I heard lockstep. You guys are skipping down the street there. Locking arms.
Exactly. We're skipping
with your
we're
Power
humming,
Windows.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You guys can take your big money and your Power Windows and off you go, because I don't think I'll ever be revisiting that one.
That's all right.
Different territories.
Yeah. He's going to take his money somewhere else.
Yes, I'm going to take my big money, my big little money.
Grand Designs on getting out of here.
John's with me. Thanks for backing me up there, buddy. He's with me. He's not a big fan of the Power Windows. Maybe he's a fan of the crank windows instead. Doesn't want the Power Windows. I'm kind of with him. I'm with the crank windows. If it gives me some more guitar and a little less keyboard drowning, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I know that's what Rush does. So until later, and I'll get what I want, and I'll be sorry for that too. So
okay.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, because I'll get that, and I won't like that either. So
well,
anyway,
I need you to relax for a second and hold your fire on
fire on those later albums. Dodge Omni, baby, crank windows. All right, hold your fire. September 8th, 1987. We got 2 years in between here. It's Peter Collins again. I felt this produced sound had more depth and was better than the tinniness, as Brian put it. It was just kind of, it did have an 80s feel. This one has more depth to it. I feel like I can hear more in there. That could be my hearing too. I'm getting old. My favorites on this one are Time Stands Still, Open Secrets, Lock and Key. Skipper's maybe a Taishan, I guess. So weakest track for me on this one. It's still a little too synthy, this one, but there's more guitar that's present and up front for me on this one, so I didn't have as much trouble trying to hear some Alex Lifeson playing way off in the distance there. Maybe his power windows were closed and then we couldn't hear him. I have this one as a B. I have this one number 4. It's more likable to me than Power Windows was. There's nothing really worth skipping except maybe that Taishan. A little too heavy on the synth still, but better than the previous album, better than Power Windows. Still, some of the songs have kind of the same sound feel where they're almost just variations of each other, similar tempos, instrumentation. Like there wasn't a whole lot of swing of differences here. It was just kind of like, let's just stick with what works, and sometimes it really worked for me, sometimes it didn't, but more so on this one than on Power Windows. What did you think of Hold Your Fire, Brian?
To me, it's kind of it's almost a Power Windows 2.0. They're very similar albums for me, and that's probably why I love this one so much. I mean, you start right off the bat with Force 10 with that driving bass line, and as we don't.
They open with that one many times.
Yeah. I mean, what a great track, album opener, a great show opener, and the up tempo stuff on here, and they still. I think the amount of keyboards are probably almost the same, to be honest with you. Maybe his actual style of guitar is a little bit different what he's doing, but yeah, Time Stands Still is a great song. Second Nature I love. Prime Mover is probably one of my top 10 Rush songs, and Mission is just outside there too. I love both those songs. Again, they're just big giant songs. They take me back to stuff like Xanadu and Spirit of Radio. Especially the kind of more up-tempo stuff, that has like the big choruses and kind of the breakdowns with a little bit of slow keyboard stuff coming in, behind it. And there's just, I don't know that there's any skippers on there. Taishan's it goes pretty Asian on those parts. They're sort of copping that. I don't want to say copping that feel.
You can say it. It's okay.
That style, but lyrically, it's kind of cool. You sort of just picture them outside these Japanese temples or whatever, writing this song, which I don't know, it's not that bad of an idea. But yeah, there's really no skippers on this one. You mentioned Lock and Key too, another great song. Yeah, this one for me too is a little bit interesting. When it first came out, I was pretty high on it, but nowhere near as high as I am on it now. And I think that's also because I just have such a massive love for Power Windows, and I think this is a Power Windows 2.0 dressed up a little bit, and this settles in nicely at number 2 on my list, and it gets an A.
Hold Your Fire. You guys seem to like it. Well, Brian, a lot. I didn't put that together that Power Windows and Hold Your Fire were at all really maybe similar in that sense. I just didn't quite like the songs as much on Hold Your Fire as Power Windows. But I still like it. It's a solid listen. I really liked it. It starts off, I think, amazing. Again, those first 5 songs are good, but again, now we're approaching 10 songs. We haven't really got to that type of length on any albums yet. We're just getting more and more each album, and I kind of am starting to lose interest in it later. And again, listening to these albums just one time and then giving my idea of what I think of it, it's hard, especially when you've listened to this so many times. But Time Stands Still is such a good song, and John Novak actually kind of my thoughts with this, it just really hits home. Like it's such a good lyrical song, and just really good. I like the vocals with the female in it. I don't offhand know her name. Amy something, I believe. Yeah, Amy Mann.
Amy Mann from Till Tuesday, right?
Yep. So she's phenomenal in it. She sounds great. The one thing I will say is, and I told Brian this, I was watching the video for it, and it may be the worst video I have ever seen. It's just hilarious. So basically, it's just them in front of a green screen, and it's like they're holding them down with the mouse and just going like this with it. Like you see, like the drums in the back, like floating around in circles, and I'm just dying laughing. So it's just of the time, that the green screen they realized that what they could do and all that stuff. But Yeah, Force 10, great. Time Stand Still. I love Second Nature, Prime Mover. Mission was really the one on the back end, that really stuck out to me. But it's a good, solid album. I had it at number 5, right in the middle. I had it a B minus. I really, really like it, but I just liked Power Windows more. Maybe it hurt that I just listened to them back to back, and I just really was like, wow, Power Windows. I love the sound. It's like 80s, but real futuristic with the keyboards and stuff. But this one just falls a little bit shorter of it, but very good album. I think still really, really solid when it comes down to it. So Hold Your Fire, pretty good for me.
Yeah, and I there's some of these albums I don't like as much as other ones, but I don't think I rated anything outside of like a C minus either.
Yeah.
So I like them to some degree. So
Mhm.
I sound like I'm getting a little too negative. I mean, that's some of that's maybe for effect, I guess, but you can't love everything, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, anyway, on to Presto, November 17th, 1989. 11 songs. This is kind of where I'm in my, high school, teenage years. I think I was a junior in high school or something at this point. So senior in high school. I was 17. This is the first time I saw Rush. I believe Mr. Big opened this tour. They had the big blow up bunnies that came up out of the hats on stage, which was cool. This was Rush and Rupert Hine. There was an effort here at reduction of synthesizers, which is good. Not that I feel like they should rid them all together, which I find out later that that's not a good thing. It's a big part of their sound that I like, but the overuse of synth is just not good for me. There's a fine line there. So it kind of returned to more guitar-driven, less synths on albums leading up to this one. Then albums leading up to this one. Geddy said he was sick of working with computers and synthesizers, and that this album was kind of a rebellion against technology in a sense. He said, that was his quote. They made a pact to stay away from strings, pianos, and organs, but in the end, he said they just couldn't resist using them to fill out the sound. So this is kind of where the battle began with the maybe not began, but this is kind of where they really tried to start making a change with all of the 80s influence synths that they were using. My favorites are Show Don't Tell. God, it's such a great song. Presto's a great song too. Scars gets a little bit boring for me, but isn't terrible. I like the Rock Paper Scissors and Hand Over Fist. That's clever. It feels like that should be on Roll the Bones though, with the whole chance theme they had going on with that one, which we'll get to. But I thought was kind of weird that it was on this album. But maybe that's where the idea came from. But I just like that in the lyrics. It just kind of made me smile. I'm like, that's pretty cool that they worked that in there, And it's totally Rush to do something like that. My rating on this one, I had this as a B minus. I had this as number 5, so this is right in the middle. I have it just behind Hold Your Fire. I need a little more rock edge than this album gives me. The songs are almost all good. They're a little too safe for me though, and mild. I guess it's just that's the only word I could come up with to describe what I was feeling. There wasn't enough edge there for me, but I did still like it quite a bit. So it's just not much in the way of good guitar riffs, which is what I feel like I'm always looking for outside of Show Don't Tell. I mean, that's iconic. Such a great song. It's one of those ones that sticks in my head for days, and I can listen to a bunch of other Rush songs and I'll still wake up with Show Don't Tell in my head. We'll get to a song I love by them also on a couple albums later that has a very similar sound to Show Don't Tell, but we'll get to that. A very underrated Rush song later on. Yeah, I have this as right in the middle, B minus, number 5. What'd you think of Presto, Brian?
Yeah, it's interesting. You talked about the keyboards. Oh, we're not going to have that many in it. And the first single that came out was Show Don't Tell, which basically I don't think has any at all. And then when I bought the album, I was like, okay, there's still a pretty decent amount of keyboards.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like they tried, but
yeah, but they're not driving the.
Yeah,
they're not those arpeggiator things that go through the whole song like you would hear on the last 2 albums. It's mostly for fill, but I still think the way they use them on this is fine.
Yeah.
But the pass that is an absolutely amazing song live. I'll talk about that concert in a minute, but I got to see that one live. Great title track's great. Superconductor, I love that song. It's kind of one of those albums where I'm pretty worn out after Superconductor, and I won't say this about the later ones, but then you get to Anagram, and I'm like, man, this is still a freaking great song, you know. And Available Light kind of starts out a little weak, but the chorus and how it sort of evolves into something. And you're right, there's a bit of a mellow, kind of a laid back feel here, but it's still pretty it still gives me enough of an emotional punch that lyrically I just really feel like I really can relate to some of the stuff on this album. And to me, it's kind of the last of the, hey, there's not really any skippers on it for me. So I'll put this one at number 4, and it's going to get an A-.
Presto, if I could wave my magic wand. Good stuff.
Would you make it disappear?
No.
Okay, well, that's good.
No, I wouldn't. I actually really like this album, and I guess this is the one asterisk on the back half of the albums. Because Brian, do you remember when we worked together? You gave me I gave you, I think, a jump drive with a bunch of music on it. And then I think you gave me one.
Yeah.
This was on there for some reason. This Rush album was on there. So
okay.
When I was listening to it this time, it all sounded really familiar to me. And I was sitting and thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, Brian gave me this album before.
Huh.
So there was a bunch of the first side of it, the first 5-6 songs, like very familiar to me. And I really like it. You know, like Mr. H said, Show Don't Tell, phenomenal. I feel like I've heard that on live albums before. I think War Paint is awesome.
Yeah.
The title track, they just played that again on the Cleveland show, the Moving Pictures anniversary tour.
Time Machine.
Yep, the Time Machine tour. They played that on there. So, I was familiar with a lot of these songs, and I really like them. I think these songs are just really good songs. It may not be the best sounding record to me. Like, it doesn't have either enough of the keyboards or enough of the guitar. It's they're still kind of dwindling in between. So I don't love it as much as some of the earlier stuff, but it's really, really good. I would definitely put it over a lot of the stuff coming up for sure, just because of the songs. Like, there's a lot to be said for writing good songs instead of just writing a handful of really good songs and then just kind of letting the rest of the album go, which I feel like a lot of times bands do that, especially later in their career. But in this case, I really like it. This is number 3 for me. Maybe the familiarness of it. Just like I said, those songs just stand out to me. I'll go along with my life and we'll do 10 more podcast episodes and I'll still probably think of a lot of these songs. Like you said, Show Don't Tell, just that chanting of show me, don't tell me, just over in my head over and over, and just really good stuff. So number 3 for me, right in the B+ range, just solid album. I really, really like it.
Yeah, you were talking about the flash drives. I think I have a couple flash drives, maybe even sitting right here, that belong to John Novak and now belong to me. And he probably has 1 or 2 of mine that
yeah,
looky there.
Oh yeah,
that so we pass those back and forth all the time before. So we're like, oh yeah, you want to hear that? Oh yeah, hang on, I'll bring it in for you tomorrow. And then next thing you know, here's 15 other albums too.
Yeah.
So it was so nice to be able to do that. Next up, we got Roll the Bones, September 3rd, 1991. It's another 10-songer. This is Rush and Rupert Hine. It was a little misleading. I read that this is a return to commercial success for the band, reaching number 3 in the Billboard charts. But if you look at all these other albums, it's like they have a thing with number 10 for whatever reason on the U.S. charts. Like, there's like 6 albums that reach number 10. Every time I'd look another one up, and I'm like, okay, number 10. It's number 3. Is it really that far off from Billboard Top 200? Is it really that much different than 3? But so anyway, that just said that this was a return to commercial success for them. The band purposely did only a short tour for Presto, which Geddy said that they were being overcautious. I'm not quite sure what that meant, but as they toured, they got some renewed energy and they got into writing Roll the Bones sooner than they planned to. They got some inspiration. As Geddy got into some bird watching, which I thought was interesting, he fixed some bird feeders around the studio and watched the birds as he wrote music. The band thanked the Byrds in the liner notes, which I thought was funny. But of course, that's a total Rush thing to do. So just thank the Byrds. This continued approach of guitar, bass, and drums while writing, which was started on Presto. They added, a lot of the keyboard and synth stuff afterwards, but they were consciously trying to write with just guitar, bass, and drums. There was a running lyrical theme, as I mentioned, through this album, with the element of chance running through different aspects of life. My favorites on this one are Dreamline. My God, this is Rush greatness at its finest. What a fantastic song. And I really like Roll the Bones a lot outside of the rap part. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing, Geddy? Come on, man. Oh, it's so bad too. It's so cringy. Oh,
getting down with this Canadian bad self.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm like, who came up with this? I'm glad they only did it once. I'm really, really glad they only did it once. But Face Up's a great song. Ghost of a Chance is a hugely underrated Rush song with a really cool, memorable guitar riff and a guitar solo. Who knew they even still did that in this band? So, good stuff, man. I love Ghost of a Chance. Really great song. And Neurotica I like too, which is a song that I don't think I ever really thought about all that much, but I listened to it and then I put it on. I listened to it again. I'm like, man, I really like this. And it's kind of weird. It's just kind of everything kind of rhymes with Neurotica, and there's just a lot of erotica and whatever other Metallica. I don't know what else they put in there, but it was it's just an interesting song, and it kind of caught my attention. I'm like, I like this a lot more than I thought. Skippers, I didn't really like Bravado. I know that's a song they played live too, but I feel like it's kind of a big letdown after Dreamline, the Dreamline greatness, I guess, for me. And the Roll the Bones rap, who's responsible for that? I gotta know. Hey, the second best Canadian rapper after Drake. All right, maybe Geddy is number one. Really, maybe he should put out a whole rap album. Thanks, John. Big Wheel is another one that I kind of skipped. I didn't really care for that one all that much. But this one overall, I have as a B+. This is number 2 for me, the second half of the catalog. I really waffled between this, Roll the Bones, and Grace Under Pressure, between 2 and 3. Those two are really, really close for me. This one, I feel like kind of Dreamline and Ghost of a Chance kind of push this over that album for me, but they're really close. There's more guitar energy on this one than on Presto, but also more songs I didn't care for. A little more swings and misses, but I appreciate them trying some different things and not just have all the songs kind of sound the same. That's it. So B+, number 2. What did you think of Roll the Bones, Brian?
I feel like this is not on purpose. This is like we get a Michigan fan on here to debate an Ohio State fan, because we're about as far apart here as
because you love Bravado, huh?
I do, and
man, I heard you groan there when I said that.
This album is for the Byrds. I don't know.
Oof!
I'm definitely going to cry foul on this one.
You got any more? No, did you work on that like all night, or? Wow.
You know what's criminal, and I totally agree with you. Dreamline, absolutely amazing song.
Oh, crushed.
Bravado to me is one of their top 15. It's an earworm, and it's such.
Not for me.
It might be the most basic Rush song ever. It just has that one little riff that sort of spirals around and turns itself backwards a few times. It's like it's the same riff, but it just twists around just a little. That's really all there is to it. But man, to me, it's a very powerful song. Roll the Bones is great. I don't mind the rap part of me. It's a little bit goofy, but the sounds they get on that and the accents are great. But then, man, the last 7 tunes, they just lose me. I'm 100% disagreement on Ghost of a Chance.
Wow.
I thought it was a horrible single when I first heard it. I'm like, there's a Ghost of a Chance. I don't know. To me, there's something hokey about it, and I don't know. It's hard because the first 3 to me are so damn good, but the last 7, I just never. I mean, literally, whenever I listen to this, the first 3 songs and that's it. I just could never get into the rest of it. I don't know. It feels like they're kind of unfocused on what they're trying to do here, and I think they definitely get it back on the next album. I won't give that away, but this one just sort of feels all over the place. I give this one a C-. And actually, even as much as I love the first 3 songs, I still got to probably put this as an overall complete album. I put it at 9.
I have a couple questions real quick. So you're not a big fan of the Gangster of Boats trilogy? Like, what is that exactly? And how is it part 4 of a Gangster of Boats trilogy? I'm really confused. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what that meant, but anyway.
You don't know, Brian? I'm seriously wanting to know now. No?
I don't know what they're talking about. What is that?
It's where's my thing? It's in the instrumental, the song 5. It says it's part 4 of the Gangster of Boats trilogy. I don't know.
I'm on a boat,
right? That's all I can think of. But obviously, this was 1989, so
right,
or 1991 or whatever. So, but
yeah,
anyway,
no,
sorry about.
I lyrically, I don't even know. Like I said, I know Ghost of a Chance. The rest of them, I tried to kind of get into Neurotica, and it's sort of cool with some of the, I guess, some of the lyrics and vocals they do. But I don't know. There's nothing in those last 7 songs that just grabs me and sticks with me. I don't know. So that's where I am on Roll the Bones.
Okay, jeez Louise.
So Bob's gonna probably have to be somewhere in the middle here.
Yeah, I am right in the middle of you guys. Yeah, I don't love it, but I love the first 3. I agree, but I also love a few of the ones that Mr. H likes too. So I do like Ghost of a Chance. I do like The Big Wheel. The Big Wheel is got like this 60s stripped down feel. I like it. It's okay. But a lot of those other songs I do not like. I think this is kind of like a half and half album for me. So it's like half really good and half not good to me. It just doesn't really hit with me that well. But when it does, it does. You guys mentioned Dreamline. Very, very good song. Roll the Bones. I very much cringe during the rap, but the rest of the song is phenomenal. I think it's really catchy, really good song. Bravado, I do like. So yeah, I do fall right in between you guys. I have it like a C. I have it. What do I have it? 7th. I have it 7th overall. So right in between you guys, of course. It's okay. I like it better than a lot of stuff coming still. But as Brian kind of alluded to, they kind of get back to what I like in the next record. So yeah, Mr. H.
All right. On to Counterparts. I was really looking forward to Counterparts. I love this album. I really do. I really, when we do the second half, I'm like, I know there's one that I'm really going to like, and it's this one, and it didn't disappoint me. I had problems even getting to Test for Echo because I just wanted to keep listening to this album. I love this album. Absolutely love it. This is Rush and Peter Collins again. This is tied for the highest charting in their career. This number reached number 2. Any guesses of what the other album was that reached number 2? Thought this was very interesting.
Is it one to come still, or is it one that we passed?
Do you want hints already? Or?
I was just going to say it's like the newest
Pictures?
One. It is not Moving Pictures.
I was going to say the newest one is what I would say. Clockwork Angels, but
yep, you'd be correct.
Okay,
it was Clockwork Angels. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, not Moving Pictures. So yeah, anyway, this is reached number 2. Stick It Out. The song Stick It Out reached number 1 on Billboard for 4 weeks in 1993. Let me think about that. Think about what stuff that was out at the time we're talking about, and for Rush to reach number 1 on Billboard for a month with Stick It Out is pretty shocking. The instrumental Leave That Thing Alone was nominated for Best Rock Instrumental.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said. Maybe that's why it was nominated.
Maybe.
The group agreed that Primus and Pearl Jam influenced them to further refine their sound as Primus opened the Roll the Bones tour, which was the second time that I saw them. I forgot to mention that one. I also saw them on this tour, and this was the best time that I saw Rush was on this tour on Counterparts. It was fantastic. The group... Alex Lifeson said this album was very satisfying for him, as this album was finally written almost completely around guitar for him, which is probably why I like it so much. Lifeson and Lee had increased tension over the use of keyboards, which Lifeson had constantly asked not to be used, and that Lee continued to bring them into the studio and use them. I could just see Alex Lifeson sitting there in the studio. Here's Geddy rolling up, and then Geddy walks in and he's dragging his giant keyboard in the studio with him. You can almost see him just rolling his eyes like, no, not again. Oh man, that's funny. But I guess this led to a pretty volatile situation. And Geddy said that Alex was making assumptions that he would use keys all over the place, and I guess the theme on this album too, from what Neil Peart was saying, was that kind of duality was the only unifying theme lyrically on this album. My favorites on this one are Animate, Stick It Out, Nobody's Hero, Double Agent, frickin' Cold Fire. I love Cold Fire. That's a song I was talking about that's very, very similar to Show Don't Tell. I love Cold Fire. It's just such a great song. There's no skippers for me on this one. This is an A album for me. This is number one of the second half, pretty easily. This is my second favorite album, kind of ruined in my total rankings. My second favorite album to Moving Pictures, but it's damn close. That's how much I love this album. I really, really love this album. What did you think of Counterparts, Brian?
So you almost have to go all the way back to almost Caress of Steel, to be honest, but to get the first true no frills, just complete guitar album, right? We got to get way back, because you really can't count Hemispheres and Farewell to Kings because it's got a decent amount of keyboards on those, starting with those. Yeah, man, I'm kind of with you on this one. My thing on this one was, and it's going to be a little bit similar for the next one too. I came in late on this because I was kind of in my Pantera and grunge and Alice in Chains phase, and whatever Rush has out isn't going to be heavy, whatever, So I kind of, which is kind of funny because this is the most guitar they've had in forever. But I sort of missed out on it at the time. And then I think I finally caught on to this one about 5-10 years after the fact, which hey man, still a great album. Nobody's Hero. The only thing I hate about that part is that he does that spoken thing. Is like he knew he was different based on his sexual. I don't know. It just it sounds stupid.
It does. Yeah. It never sounded good then either. But
no, it sounds really goofy. Even though the song itself isn't bad.
Right.
Between Sun and Moon is great. Alien Shore, the groove on this one is like kind of a jazz rock feel. Speed of Love, man. You talk about like on some of this era, the next couple here that have the decent songs have sort of those haunting kind of an echoey, clean riff sort of, thing, sort of a circular pattern thing, and they dig into that groove, and they're up tempo enough. That's the thing. We get enough up tempo on this one.
Yes.
Double Agent, great song. You talked about Cold Fire, man. I absolutely love that song.
So good.
Yeah, great song. It's weird because you think it's
buried on this album at number 10 too.
Well, yeah, it's a horrible place to put that song.
Yeah.
And it's not the way the song starts out. It's not. It ends up being like not what you think it is. It ends up being way better, to be honest. We're at 11 songs here. We, they're all really pretty good for the most part. I don't know. Maybe if you cut this down to 9, this is even more amazing, right?
I agree.
So anyway, this sets in perfectly fine here at number 5. It's a solid B+ for me. And I can't really say anything. You're not going to find too many Rush fans that will say anything negative about Counterparts.
Really? I actually am not sure.
Yeah, no, it's widely kind of considered as of the newer stuff,
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't really read anything, and nobody I really knew was into it back at at that time because of like what you said of everything else that was around at the time. I'm actually surprised that I found it, to be honest with you, but I did like Roll the Bones a lot too, so that's probably why I was like, oh, Rush got a new album, I got to check that out. But yeah, there's so much different, way heavier stuff going on at the time. So
I'm kind of with you guys. This is pretty good stuff. I actually was kind of losing a little bit of faith that, how many times have we gone down this rabbit hole, Mr. H, where we have a classic band and we love a lot of their earlier stuff, and then they just kind of hit a wall and they're just kind of doing it to do it. And
we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. I get it, but honestly, when I put this album on, I kind of expected kind of the same of the same. Like, okay, we're just kind of coasting now, but. No, I mean, absolutely agree with you guys. This is a phenomenal record. And, just really, really good songs. I think your point to too many songs, to me, it was more, it's just too long. I feel like, is it like 65 minutes? I just feel like we're kind of, oh, it's only 55 minutes, but it's like, to me, it's just, there's a lot. I'm just kind of exhausted by the end of it. And maybe it's the exercise of listening to 10 albums, and putting this together in such a quick time. It's tough, but yeah, just so many good songs stick out here. You guys pretty much mentioned them. Obviously, Animate's good. I love the way the Stick It Out, just another earworm to me. The do 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 do, like really, really good stuff. I really, really like it. That's another one that's on the Cleveland live show. They played it off of here. That's just phenomenal. Nobody's Hero. You guys have mentioned all these. Cold Fire, great, like you said. So yeah, this one really hit for me. I still like some of the earlier ones better. I don't know why. They're just a little more catchy. But really, you guys have said it all. I like this. This is number 4 for me, so it just slots in right behind a few of those. Number 4, and I have it as a B plus. It's really, really good. I was surprised. Honestly, I was surprised that I was going to like this one as much as I did, and I did. So good stuff.
I remember this was Eric Johnson opened this show when it was in Cleveland, which I thought was weird, interesting. But it's the only time I've ever seen Eric Johnson. I only really know the Cliffs of Dover or whatever that song is. The only song by him I really know. But they played 6 songs off of this album when they came here, and they played 22 songs. But it was like Kiss's greatest hits. I mean, I think Xanadu was in there. I mean, this was the greatest show for me. I think they didn't play Working Man was the only thing I think that I wanted to hear that they didn't play at this show. Like, I couldn't believe all the counterpart songs that were in it. It was fantastic. It's also the last time I've seen them too. So, but on we go to Test for Echo.
Test for Echo. Yeah, it's funny you guys mentioned all the times you've seen them. In the last couple records. Rush is a band I've never ever and never will ever get to see, at least in the main 3, obviously. Kind of depressing. That bothers me so bad. I remember me and Brian were talking about going to that Cleveland show. Man,
the Time Machine one, or when they came later?
No, Time Machine.
Okay.
Now, again, I don't know why I never really wanted to see them or had the urge to see them, but at that moment, I was like, I need to see this. They're playing the full, full Moving Pictures album. They'll probably play a lot of their greatest hits that I'll never, get to hear. And it's just one of those things. It's just totally regret it. So I never got to see Rush.
Same. I saw them, and I saw them 3 straight albums, and I don't know why I didn't go to that one. I really should have. I ended up telling you guys after the last episode, this guy I work with, John and I worked with, he went and he wore this like lime green, highlighter green shirt. So every time they showed the crowd in Time Machine, and lucky for you and all of us, Rush is one of the bands that have put out lots and lots of live material. I mean, there's a stretch in here where there's like 5 years of no album, where I think they put out like 4 or 5 greatest hits / live. There's lots of live videos of them. They did the whole Time Machine thing, which is all of Moving Pictures, like you said, in its entirety, and amongst a million other things. Like, it's a great video. It was shot right here. So the next best thing for you going to see them live is to watch that video of them playing right here in downtown Cleveland. So we'll have that forever. So, and I thank them for putting that out here. And it sounds great. It looks great. I mean, everything about it is just top notch. So,
yep.
Yeah, kudos to them there's a couple times where I'm like scrolling, I'm like looking for the next studio album to listen to, and I'm like, oh my God, look at all these Chronicles 1, Chronicles 2, Chronicles 3, live here, the different stages, all the stages, under the stages, over the stages, like, oh my God, like all these live albums. But I mean, it's good to have that, because, in the last 10 years, they haven't toured, and they keep talking about it for the last 4 years, and it's probably never going to happen now that Neil's gone. So, at least we have all that stuff to watch and rewatch, and they've recorded it all, so they're fantastic.
Yeah, they're very good quality. Very good. I bought that DVD for the Cleveland.
Yes,
I love it. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
But 16th album, Test for Echo, another 11-song album. Again, produced by Peter Collins and Rush. We'll get into it kind of in the next record, but this is kind of it for a while for them. They actually go on about a 5-year hiatus right after this album. So Neil's going through some tough times after this one is done. But yeah, I know they recorded this album. They were trying to get very drum heavy with it. Again, follow with the same type of thing with the guitars, like they've been kind of going down. Very good, very good mix on this one. Actually, I really really like it. Problem with this one for me again is we're still a little too long. I think maybe getting accustomed to their 8, 9 songs, good stuff, but I don't really like a whole lot off this album. It sounds good, like it has a really good sound and a really good feel, and I like the direction that they're at this point. Uh, but to me, it's very top heavy. The title track was a single that they released, and I think it reached like number one. Which me and you, Mr. H, had a conversation before this because next week we're going to be doing Slipknot, and we talked about how
Talk about a difference.
Yeah, we were looking at how many views that each of these.
Oh, yeah.
And my argument to you was, well, Rush doesn't have a whole lot of things that you would recognize from the last 20 years, just from listening to the radio or whatever. But I guess the title track here, Test for Echo, was actually a number one on the main radio. So whatever, rock, main, whatever they call it. Driven, I think, was good too. Half the World I liked. But man, a lot of these later songs on this album just do not hit for me. Totem, I don't like that very much. Dog Years, I wanted to skip that. Like I was dead by the end of this. Just a very top heavy album for me. I don't love it overall. I wish I liked the songs better because again, I like the way it sounds. I like how huge the drum sound is. Like the sound, don't like the songs. This one for me is number 8. So a little bit further down the list. It's just, you got to have the songs for me. I don't love it. So I have it like C-. Again, I wouldn't turn it off. It's still Rush. It's still phenomenal. They're still great here, but they're slipping, I think, with songs, and it's just kind of showing here in the next couple albums. So number 8 for me, Test for Echo. What did you think, Brian, of Test for Echo?
Your songs are showing.
Yeah, this one, I'm a little surprised because I think upon first hearing this, I didn't like any of it, and now I'm going to agree with you. It's very top heavy, which I like top heavy, Anyway, title song's great one. Driven's is a really good song.
Mhm.
Great riff on that. Great guitar work on that. The next two are two of my kind of hidden gems. Half the World. There's a little bit of a King's X thing going on with the
yeah, I can
guitars
hear that.
are. And even Color of Right has a little bit of that too. There's a grungy riff with some decent keyboards, and those are two I think kind of underrated songs in the catalog. But then, like Bob says, man, Totem kind of okay. The pre-chorus, chorus, Dog Years, I had that as a definite skipper. I don't know. Virtuality, there's a kind of a decent riff. Resist, in Limbo, I don't like either of those. The very last song, Carboy the Stone, the chorus isn't too bad. It's kind of like a round type of a thing. But yeah, it's what did we say? So 11 songs, 53 minutes, and that 53 minutes definitely feels a lot longer than that.
Yes, amen.
And we're going to get to some albums that are 15 minutes longer than that one.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the first 4 I think are really, really good songs, and then you're just kind of worn out. There's not that much there to them. They're just it's just the giant theatrical, the big, the big kind of production, the big songs they're just not there. And I guess that draws up more a product of age and just sort of maturity in the way you sort of write and stuff. But I don't know. Some of these numbers you guys are throwing out too, like, well, this went to number 1 on the whatever. Well, we got to remember that there's no competition for anything anymore.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
In the last 15 years, I mean, the way they measure, like, okay, if Moving Pictures didn't make it to number 2, it was probably because Foreigner 4 was sitting there, and High Infidelity was parked there for 72 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, they still kept the Dark Side of the Moon was still on the damn charts, like, and The Wall was out too. So some of the stuff about when they throw out these numbers about, oh, this was, and I'm like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's a little bit disingenuous, but this one falls in for me at I got it number 6. It's a B-. I don't think I'd come back to anything on here other than those first 4 songs, and that's all I need. The rest of it's okay. It's not. I don't dislike it as much as Roll the Bones, but there's just nothing memorable towards the end of this one. For me. So that's what I got.
Yeah, you guys both hit it pretty well on the head for this one. Same with me. It's probably the heaviest guitar record they put out that I can remember. This is even heavier than Counterparts, but this is kind of what I was getting at before, where this is kind of getting to the point where be careful what you wish for, because I want more guitar. Well, there's plenty of guitar on this album, but there's just not a whole lot of memorable melody. I mean, there's some goofy songs. There's songs that Brian used the term memorable. There's just not very many memorable songs on here. Like my favorites are just like you guys said: Test for Echo, Driven, Time and Motion, and Color of Right are the 4 songs that I really like, and then the rest of it's just drug on what seemed like forever. I love the heavier vibe on this one with the more guitar forward stuff, similar to Counterparts, but the songs just aren't nearly as good. So I don't know what happened there. This is what was it, 3-year difference here? So I don't know. It just seems like I love Counterparts so much, and this one just felt like, okay, they're trying to do the same thing, but what happened? What's the difference? Because there's just, I don't know, but at the same time, I don't really have any skippers on here. I guess it's just the whole second half, it just felt really long. But I don't really have anything that I would like, oh man, I gotta turn this off. I just can't do it. Like I'm probably just gonna let it play, but I have this as a C+. I have this as number 6 out of the 10. Again, I love the heavier vibe. It just doesn't work for them on this album, I guess. And there's more of that to come, so it doesn't really get any better. So, unfortunately. But I have this as number 6, C+.
All right. That leads us to the 17th studio album, Vapor Trails. I kind of feel bad saying, what I'm about to say for it, because it was produced by Paul Northfield, who I'm sure Brian knows, worked on albums with Dream Theater, Queensryche, Porcupine Tree, a band that I'm into a little bit from the Opeth type of thing. But he's a prolific British record producer. Man, this sounds like shit. I don't like it at all. Like I kind of take a step back for a second. We're at 13 songs now, 67 minutes for this. And when this was released, it got such a bad, just kind of a bad rep because it just sounded really bad. And they did do a re-release, and I think that's what's on Spotify. That's probably what we all listen to, or Apple Music, whatever you were listening to. So I'm sure you got the remastered version of it, and I guess it does sound better, but man, I don't think the production is good. I don't think it does them any favors, and plus the songs aren't very good. But
we lost him. Well, hopefully he knows that he's offline, and he'll try to reconnect. But there's 6 years in between Vapor Trails and Test for Echo here. And there's some sad stuff. Neil lost his daughter and his wife in separate tragedies after the Echo tour ended in '97. No, that's okay.
I think he booted Mr. H again too. Hopefully he can hear us. But like I was saying, this is their 5-year kind of a layoff between. So Neil Peart, he suffered a loss of his daughter and his wife in separate tragedies at the same amount of time, which obviously really, really affected him. I think he went on like a motorcycle ride across the U.S. and was trying to kind of find himself. And I guess the band really didn't know if they would continue. They didn't really know if, there was any future to Rush. So, while a lot of people were excited that, they actually got more Rush music, just it didn't really hit all that well for me. So I don't think the production was very good. And again, I don't think the sound, is very good. The songs and the sound aren't very good. So, but it is an improvement. As far as the songs that I like, I think the same type of thing. It's It's really top heavy, but there's entirely too much music here. One Little Victory is a good song. I like Ghost Rider. That's really about it. I don't love a whole lot. There's a lot of decent songs. I don't know. There's a lot of them I would skip, other than just the fact it's too long. It's too much stuff here. It's just too hard to listen to, especially again this kind of exercise where we're listening to so much. This is just it's exhausting. So, unfortunately for me, Vapor Trails is going to be the bottom of the barrel for these back half of albums for me. It was number 10. There was just nothing really redeeming about it. A couple decent songs. The playing is still really good. Obviously, it's still Rush. Not a good album for me. What did you think of Vapor Trails, Brian?
Not too far off of you. I think One Little Victory is great. The drums on that are awesome. It's up tempo, and I like a lot of interface drums. Ceiling Unlimited, kind of a goofy. I don't know. It's just like a goofy title and a goofy thing to say in the chorus, even though the song isn't that bad. Ghost Rider is a really good song.
Yep.
Agree on that one. Peaceable Kingdom, Skipper. Stars Look Down, I think, is a little bit of a kind of maybe another hidden gem. Secret Touch, there's some cool heavy stuff in that, but the rest of it, yeah. Then we get Freeze, which is part 4 of the Fear trilogy. So you were talking about the boat trilogy or whatever. This is part 4 of the Fear trilogy, which is now a quadrilogy, I guess.
Trilogy plus 1.
Yeah, which I actually like this song. I think it's kind of dumb they buried it all the way down there at 11. If it's going to be part 4 of a trilogy, it should at least be in the top 4 songs, right?
Aren't all the other Fear ones that later in the albums too? They're all kind of buried. I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, like Out of the Cradle, I don't know. It's just, it's like Bob said. It's just 67 minutes, and I mean, I guess you can understand based on what he's going through. I mean, who has the like the inner drive and the creativity and I don't know, just the passion to even like it probably feels like going in and working a crappy 9-to-5 job like the three of us have to do, even if we do work from home and it's still 9-to-5 that we're like, yeah, whatever, it's not. We'd much rather play drums than Rush, right?
I mean, I don't know. Careful.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how can you be creative or inspired or and I think it shows on this. I didn't notice quite the production as much as Bob, but there I guess I can see there is kind of a little bit of a muddiness in the way the guitars are kind of mashed in with the drums, and I don't think it's horrible, but it is weird that Rush would even have any album where the production is off, but it definitely is a little bit at least. So I got this one at number 7, and I don't know. I go back and forth. I guess go ahead and give it a B- because I still think I can get maybe 6 songs that I would go back and listen to. So yeah, give me a B- on this one.
Yeah, I kind of have this one down near the bottom too. Neil rode his motorcycle, as Bob mentioned, 55,000 miles around North America. 55,000 miles. My ass hurts just saying that. Oh my goodness. As part of his healing process, it's what the song Ghost Rider is based on. He wrote a book called Ghost Rider about this trip also. Ghost Rider is a great song. It's one of the better moments on here, along with One Little Victory. I totally agree. Earthshine's the only other song that I really like, and even these 3 songs I like slightly more than the other songs, but I don't think any of these 3 songs are in my top 30 or more Rush songs, honestly. Yeah. I mean, not even close. So, I mean, on this album, I like those 3, but they're just not up to the standard of some of just the great stuff that they put out. So, Neil, he lost his daughter in a 1-car accident in Ontario. And basically, I think in July of 97, and then in January of 98, his wife died of cancer, but he just kind of felt like she died of apathy. Like she just kind of stopped living is how he put it, like, after losing their daughter. So, but it just crushed him. He told Getty at one of the 2 funerals that just to consider him retired. So that's why they basically took all this time off. And then in 2001, after he kind of healed and went riding for all that time, he, kind of, I don't know if it's like Forrest Gump in his running, I guess, sort of in a way, but on a motorcycle. And then he kind of came back and was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do something with my life rather than, I'm not just going to give up. So so I give them credit for putting this back together, but like you said, creatively, I kind of felt like Test for Echo was a big letdown creatively from them also, and then this one just didn't help. They took all this time off, and they had to feel things out. It took them a lot longer to record this than they thought. It took them a few weeks where I think they just sat around and talked about what they wanted to do, because they weren't sure that they could even recapture their creativity that they had as a group again, because they were apart for so long. They had never been apart for any time like that at all, not even close. So anyway, I like those three songs slightly more than the other ones, but How It Is, I guess, is the one skipper. There's nothing really terrible. It's just a lot of blah in here that all just kind of runs together,
Yep.
I like some of the guitar riffs here and there, but like whole songs, it just all kind of runs together, and there aren't many, if any, really catchy melodies. I just probably won't revisit this album again. I think I listened to it when it came out. I don't think I listened to it again until this week. And again, I was just like, there's just nothing here for me. I mean, I'm glad they got back together and continued on, and we wouldn't have had the Time Machine tour and some of these live albums and from these later tours had they not done that. But yeah, just the original stuff just wasn't up to their standards. So I have this one at 9, and I have it as a C minus, but I have this one kind of near the bottom of the second half here.
All right. That leads us to the 18th studio album. The marathon is getting close to the end. Snakes and Arrows, released May 1st, 2007. This was produced by Rush and our buddy Nick Raskelins, who did a lot of stuff with the Foo Fighters, as we talked about, an album with Ghost. So I guess he's a big fan of the group.
Yes.
Little fun story about him is if you guys saw the induction ceremony into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he was inducted by Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins of Foo Fighters. And then before Rush came out to play, the guys dressed up as Rush and played the overture, very first part of 2112. And Dave played the guitar, obviously, and Taylor Hawkins played the drums, and then Nick Raskelins played the bass for that performance. And then right after they finished with the overture, then Rush came out and they played Spirit of the Radio and Tom Sawyer, I think, after that at the induction. So, finally inducted into the Hall of Fame around here. So that was something I'm sure that you guys especially were probably pounding the table for a long time, and was glad that they got in. That was much.
Still can't believe some of the bands that aren't in there. I mean, we can take up a whole nother podcast with that, but yeah, it was good to finally see Rush get in there.
Yep. So again, Snakes and Arrows, another 13-track album, about 63 minutes. It's just a lot going on here. It sounds good still. I mean, we can't ever take anything away from their musicianship. They always are playing their instruments like really, really well.
Like nobody else. Yeah. I mean, just crazy.
Basically, I mean, they're still up there going nuts. There's 3 instrumentals on this album, which is definitely not needed, but it's just so much music here. So there's some good stuff. It's just hard to find. Again, just trying to find good stuff in between this. I like Far Cry. Spindrift is good. I like The Larger Bowl. Pretty good. Just not a whole lot on here. It's just really hard to get through it. Again, sounds good. The only reason I have this up a little bit higher than the last record is just because I think the production is better. I think it sounds really, really good, but just the songs, I don't know if they just didn't have it in them anymore at this point to write these songs, but I had this at number 9, again, just above Vapor Trails for me, just because of the production. Production is noticeably better for me. It sounds good. It was nice background music for me, but I just didn't fall in love with any of the songs. So that's Snakes and Arrows for me. It's again like C minus in number 9. What did you think of Snakes and Arrows, Brian?
Yeah, if I have to listen to this again, I'm going to probably need to smoke The Larger Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
This is a far cry from
Yeah.
Permanent Waves. And no, yeah, I mean, it's hard to really say.
Hey, work two of them in there. Come on.
Yeah. It's hard to really argue too much of what you said there. Three instrumentals. The one is really actually not even 2 minutes. It's that acoustic guitar thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The worst thing about this, compared to Vapor Trails, there's nothing on here that like even remotely brings a smile to your face. You're just kind of like, I don't know. I put down for like Far Cry's. They always have a decent, no matter what, their opening song is going to be okay, right? It's never going to be a total dud. But Armor and Sword, I don't know. It's kind of a heavy dirge. Is the word I use. This whole album feels like a dirge. Like I work in them Angels. I don't know. It's okay, I guess. I'm not a fan of Larger Bolt Spindrift either. Main Monkey Business was kind of cool when you see them. They did it on that last concert, whatever that was. I saw at the theater that they filmed. They played that one. I thought that was pretty cool that way. I don't know. The Way the Wind Blows is the first time you actually get something a little bit more happy and upbeat, but that's not like some amazing song. And the whole rest of it, I there's nothing on here I really would go back to, and it's just I don't know. It just feels like those 13 songs, man. They feel like 25. I mean,
yeah.
And that first, I don't know, that first half hour feels like an hour feels like 2. There's just nothing on here that grabs you that you remember later, and you're humming along and singing, and I don't know. I mean, who can make 19 amazing albums where you remember every song? You know, I mean, it gets to a point where okay. Plus, you get to a stage in life, you know, like we're talking, everything they've gone through. They're not the young, hungry guys touring. Oh man, we can't wait to get our next album out and tour again, and you know, and be creative and top that and try to top that. They're not in that headspace anymore. And you know, it's hard to like realize that as a fan. So you don't want to just come in here and go, "Oh, these guys are terrible," you know, because that's not true.
Right.
But yeah, just nothing on here that I really like at all. I guess Far Cry would be the only one that if I was making like a full mix of everything that I really really liked, Far Cry would probably get on there. But I don't know. I put this as this is number 10, C minus, almost falling into borderline D plus territory. It's just not their finest hour.
No, I pretty much have it the same. This is number 10 for me too. This is a rock bottom of the barrel. The 3 instrumental tracks, I don't know what we're doing there. Rush has pretty much lost me by this time. They're putting out new songs, but I don't love any of them really since Counterparts. I don't hate any of them, but none of them make me come back and really revisit and listen to them. I don't really have any favorites. Nothing really sticks out. It all kind of runs together for me. Fakes and Zeros, John renamed this album. Fakes and Zeros.
Nice.
I mean, it sounds like Rush, but I wouldn't seek out to listen to any of it ever, really. Skippers, I really didn't like Armor and Sword. I didn't like Spindrift. I think they put that out as a single, and it was weird and didn't work for me at all. I didn't care for that one. But again, this is a C. This is number 10. I don't want to see too many bad things about Rush, but this is pretty much, I guess, said everything I have to say about this album. But
yeah,
this wasn't good for me. Another 5 years in between albums too, between the last one and this one. So, and it's another 5 years between this one and the next one. So
yeah,
they're not putting out. It seems like they're not getting. Before they would tour, and they're writing songs backstage while they're touring. Like they're getting inspired by their whole process of playing their current album and their past catalog for fans, and then writing songs. It doesn't sound like they're doing that now. Like they're actually setting a time and scheduling it out. Like, okay, at this date, we're going to get together and we're going to write these songs and we're going to record this album. Like it's not like the same kind of organic process where ideas would come to them, and they, as just in rehearsal or in sound check, they're like writing pieces of music that they're fleshing out into songs. Like it doesn't sound like they're doing that anymore. They're just going to the studio and trying to find inspiration, or like I feel like that's kind of what's lost. And like you said, after 30 years, they're not at a point where they're gonna just constantly tour and go right back into the studio. Like they have other things going on. So, but I don't know. It all suffers. I feel like But yeah, this one bottom of the barrel for me in the second half.
Yep, I hear you. We'll move on to the last one. We got Clockwork Angels, their 19th and final studio album, released June 8th of 2012. Also produced again by Rush and by Nick Raskulins again. Now this one, they released a few songs on that Cleveland and on that Time Machine tour. They had the first two tracks of the album. They had, before the album was actually released, they released these songs to the radio station, and then they played them live before they were actually touring for this album, and after it was released.
2 full years.
Yep.
Full years before this album came out, those two songs were already out.
Yep, and I didn't know this, but it actually came out on Roadrunner Records, which
I didn't know that either.
I had no clue that they were involved with them at all. But anyway, actually dug around a little bit about this album, and it was actually pretty well received. When I listened to it, I actually thought it was a lot better than a lot of the stuff I had heard, later on. I thought I was maybe crazy. I'm like, am I just maybe the most recent thing, maybe a recency bias? But I think this one was kind of universally liked, I guess, by people. It's a good album to go out on. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think it's by far the best thing, in my opinion, that they've done in a while. Again, a very front heavy album for me, but I actually was kind of pleased with the first bunch of songs. Like Caravan, really good. I like BU2B, Clockwork Angels, the title track. I do like The Anarchist, and I do like Halo Effect. Later on, again, it just goes on too long. We're at about 66 minutes and 12 songs. It's just, again, it's just tiring. But I was at least excited for some of the beginning of the record. So for me, it just kind of put it ahead of a lot of the stuff that just didn't really mean a whole lot to me. I had this at number 6, which was actually, like I said, a lot better than what had been. But, it's still not anywhere what they used to be. The songs just still, they're a little better, but they're just still not great. So Clockwork Angels for me is still like C+, B-, not terrible. Again, I'm glad that they went out on this and didn't go out on Snakes and Arrows. I like this a little bit better. But that's where I'm at with it. Number 6, Clockwork Angels. Brian, what did you think of their last hurrah?
I didn't see a whole lot of difference between this and Snakes and Arrows. Maybe a slightly bit better, and maybe that's more just because I want it to be, because it's their last album. And
yeah,
I think the most, I don't know if it's disappointing. I hate to use the word disappointing because they're such an amazing band, but to go out on these as their last 3 albums, I don't know. It's kind of sad. It's not like you expect it from Def Leppard's going to turd out whatever.
Yeah.
Going to do whatever. And AC/DC will do the same thing 12 more times, but not as good or whatever. But it's like a band like Rush, just I don't know. Say like you said, the Caravan again is a decent opener. I'm not really that much of a fan of a BU2B. To me, it just feels the similar feeling I had to the other one. This one, it just feels dense. Like everything's just kind of packed in here. Okay, now let's go to this part. Let's go to this part. The coolest one to me is the Anarchist, because we get those middle. I'm always a sucker for the rock metal ones with the Middle Eastern flavored riffs. And we get those in there with the strings, and that really sort of colors up the album a little bit, and helps it. But otherwise, man, it just kind of runs together. 7 Cities of Gold is a little bit heavier, kind of cool. But man, it's plotting. There's nothing up tempo. There's nothing that makes me want to, just jump around and start rocking or go for a run, or I don't know, just groove along or just jam my guitar or you play air drums too. That's like Rush 101. Let's play air drums to something. I don't know. It just like we talked about, the era of the big songs has been gone for a while now, and it's hard to maintain something like that. So and then we kind of end with their last song being The Garden, which is kind of a nice folky song. I don't know, that one doesn't bother me all that much, but like you said, I would love to see them come up with 6 or 7, just they don't even have to be amazing, just really good ones, for 5 or 6, and then 12 of just I don't know. Again, it's like H said, what are we doing here? I'm just not feeling it, and I don't know. Maybe they are truly feeling it, and this is what's coming out of them. And hey, this is what we are, and this is what we do, and we're never going to change. We're not going to do something that that we don't feel personally, but there's just, to me, there's no connection to it. So I got it as number 8 and a C minus.
Yeah, I have this one as pretty much in the same spot there. I have it the same as you, C plus, C minus, C, whatever. I have it 8. Better than the last 2 albums slightly, but not great by any means. Listenable, but that's about it. I mean, I didn't like the Anarchist. I don't like the Middle Eastern theme. I just doesn't do it for me. But that's really the only song I would really consider skipping. So even that one, I would probably just let it play. I do like the 2 that they put out 2 years ahead of time. Those are on the set list for Time Machine also. So that was kind of cool that we have this one giant moving pictures in its totality, the whole live presentation from the Time Machine show in Cleveland, and that those 2 songs are on here too. So that's pretty cool. But because that was the Snakes and Arrows tour, I believe. So they already had these songs done a few months before they came here. So it was cool that they included them. And those are the 2 best songs, kind of by far, on this one for me. Clockwork Angels is okay. Again, there's not a lot to skip here. It's just not great. It's just a little bit better, but it's also an album I listened to when it came out, and I haven't revisited much at all in the last 12 years since it's been out. So there's just no motivation for me to go and seek this one out whatsoever. Not when there's a bunch of other really great albums I could go and listen to instead by them if I wanted to get my Rush fix. So, yep, I have this one at number 8, and then the C range. Not terrible, but definitely not great.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
So 19 albums of Rush, right? I'm trying to think of a band that I got into. So it's got to be a band you got into in the beginning, right? So you were there from album 1, okay? I can only think of one band for me personally that you got in on from album 1, and you will still go back and listen to every single album they've put out and still think that they're for the most part decent. Do you have that band or not?
No. I definitely don't have that band, though.
I'd say Metallica.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
you still got Lulu though, man. Or we're not.
I'm not counting Lulu. I guess I should.
Even
but
Saint Anger,
a couple songs I can listen to on Saint Anger. There's a couple.
Yeah, but you're not going to listen to the whole.
No, the whole thing. No, if you're talking whole albums, okay, probably no band really.
No, but you got to leave the whole album on and play through it. So the one band I come up with is Alter Bridge. I like their stuff enough on each album, and I was with them from the beginning. Now it's hard to find a band that you're with from the beginning anyway.
Maybe like Seven Dust for me.
Yeah, I would put them up there. I'd say maybe Lamb of God. There's nothing Lamb of God's put out that I don't like. Really, I'm trying to think of if I even had any skippers on any of those albums when we did Lamb of God. So, and I was definitely around the beginning for them, pretty much. I mean, not Burn the Priest beginning, but Lamb of God.
My point is, it's hard to find.
Yes,
it's rare.
Right?
It's very rare.
It makes a lot of sense, and I can see where you're going with that. But really, there's almost nobody. Even my favorite of the favorite bands aren't stuff. I can't listen to all of their albums all the way through. Like, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's why I don't think you can include Metallica.
Got a couple suggestions here. Brian S. For me, it's Green Day. So he likes the Green Day from beginning to end.
All right.
With me, I like a lot of early Green Day. There's little lulls in it for me. I don't really love the most recent stuff, but they do have, especially their revival with like American Idiot, very cool. John Novak said Tesla was for him until Aftershock.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, he's a big Tesla fan. I figured that would be one he would throw out there. Yeah. I love him too, but yeah, there's a couple more in there that I'm not huge on either, but that he really likes. But
so
yeah,
I came late to the party on Seven Dust, and I absolutely cannot stand. Was it the first album?
Yeah,
the first two.
Yeah, I just remember times like when Seven Dust came. All I had was that first album, and everything that they've done, I haven't. Obviously some are better than others, but I don't dislike any of the Seven Dust albums. I think obviously their first, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 albums are awesome, and then after that there's a step down, but I like them. So that's probably the only band I can say I was in from the beginning. And every album they put out, I'm like, this is good. This is pretty good.
I'd have to give that a lot more thought, honestly. But Seven Dust is one too. I'm trying to think if there's anything for them that the acoustic one kind of bores me. But
Travelers, I love that one.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I get bored with that one. But there's a lot of songs on there that are just re-recorded, right? And they're songs I like, so it's not like something I would really turn off.
Yeah,
right.
So.
Maybe even Kill Switch. I mean, I've been there since the beginning of Kill Switch.
Yeah,
I love everything they've done. So.
I think I could probably put them in that category.
I couldn't count them because of that first album. I just cannot listen to it. So
I can't.
But otherwise, everything but the first album.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to.
Good question.
We first need to do today's 1 to 10. We'll go through everybody to do 1 to 10, and then we're going to do the task of ranking all 19 albums from 1 to 19.
Woo!
So
if we haven't lost you by now,
all right,
drink your coffee.
Brian will give you the honors. Give us 1 to 10 on today's ranking.
Oh God! All right, they're out of order on here. All right, Power.
Windows. No.
Power Windows is 1. Hold Your Fire is 2. Grace Under Pressure 3. Presto is 4. Counterparts is 5. Test for Echo is 6. Vapor Trails, I think, is 7. 8 is. Well, you really put me on the spot here, Bob.
Well, my bad. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Calling out his unpreparedness.
Yeah. Number 8 was Clockwork Angels. Number 9 was Roll the Bones. And number 10 was Snakes and Arrows.
I think he just made that up.
He might have, and that's all right. Moving on.
It's actually right.
Okay. Mr. H.
I forgot I had Roll the Bones down there at 9. All right, go ahead.
All right. For me, number 1, I have Counterparts. Number 2, Roll the Bones. 3, Grace Under Pressure. Those two are really close for me. 4, Hold Your Fire. 5, Presto. The rest of these are all, not very good for me. So it's like a top 5 and then the bottom 5. The bottom 5, Test for Echo, number 6. Clockwork Angels, 7. Power Windows, 8. Vapor Trails, 9. Snakes and Arrows, 10.
All right. Number 1, Power Windows. Number 2, Grace Under Pressure. Number 3, Presto. Number 4, Counterparts. Number 5, Hold Your Fire. Number 6, Clockwork Angels. Number 7, Roll the Bones. Number 8, Test for Echo. Number 9, Snakes and Arrows. And number 10, Vapor Trails. All right, Brian, can you handle 1 to 19?
Yes.
Oh, all
1
right.
to 10 was tough, but 1 to 19, you got it.
I made sure I did put this down.
Okay.
I want it to be more suspenseful, so let's start from 19, right?
Sure,
Okay,
go ahead.
okay.
Sounds good to me.
19 is Snakes and Arrows. 18, Caress of Steel. 17, Clockwork Angels. 16 is the self-titled. 15 is Roll the Bones. 14 is Fly By Night. 13 is Vapor Trails. 12 is Test for Echo. 11, Farewell to Kings. 10, Counterparts. 9, Presto. 8, Hemispheres. 7, 2112. 6, Permanent Waves. 5 is Grace Under Pressure. 4, Hold Your Fire. 3, Signals. 2, Power Windows. And number 1, a little album we like to call Moving Pictures.
Get it? Because they're moving the pictures around.
Yes,
Get it?
Like carrying them
Yes.
in front of I can't remember what that was. It
like a
wasn't
museum, isn't it?
It wasn't even an art
Yeah.
museum. It's I can't remember. I
Well,
read it.
even Hold Your Fire is actually, because the song, it's like it says Hold Your Fire, keep it burning bright. It's not like Hold Your Fire, don't shoot me. So
Okay.
they do a lot of play on word stuff.
Yeah.
But,
Look at Neil. Neil being the genius.
yeah.
I prefer Firehouse's Hold Your Fire actually more. So
That's a good one, too.
Anyway.
All right, Mr. H.
All right, number 19, Caress of Steel. Number 18, Snakes and Arrows. I believe those two are the same as Brian had. But then it changes a lot. So 17, I had Vapor Trails. 16, Power Windows. 15, Hemispheres. 14, Farewell to Kings. 13, Clockwork Angels. 12, Test for Echo. 11, 2112. 10, Fly By Night. 9 Presto, 8 Hold Your Fire, 7 Grace Under Pressure, 6 Permanent Waves, 5 Signals, 4 Rush, 3 Roll the Bones, 2 Counterparts, and 1, of course, Moving Pictures. What you heard? What you got?
Alrighty, let's wrap up this.
Give it to us.
Rush. Stop rushing me.
Hurry it up.
I'm not ready yet.
Come on, man. Do some Grace Under Pressure.
All right.
You're going to make him go through all the albums. He's going to have to work in all 19 of these into a promo here.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That was That was great, the last one you did, though.
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
That's good stuff.
All
right.
good.
Number 19, Caress of Steel. Number 18, Vapor Trails. Number 17, Snakes and Arrows. Number 16, Test for Echo. Number 15, Roll the Bone. Number 14, Hemispheres. Number 13, Clockwork Angels. Number 12, Hold Your Fire. Number 11, Counterparts. Number 10, Farewell to Kings. Number 9, Fly By Night. Number 8 is Rush. Number 7 is Presto. Number 6 is 2112. Number 5, Grace Under Pressure. Number 4, Power Windows. Number 3, Permanent Waves. Number 2, Signals. Number 1, it's a clean sweep. Moving Pictures. All 3 of us, number 1.
Man, I can't believe how much you guys hate Roll the Bones. Jeez.
Yeah,
I have it third, and you guys both had it in the bottom like 4, I think, or 5. Way down there.
We
My
both
goodness.
had it at 15, right, Bob?
Yeah, 15 Roll the Bones. Yep.
Jeez.
The happiest part of this episode, Bob has Signals too. I'm so glad he loves that album.
Oh, I freaking love that album. I don't know why
so cool.
I didn't love it, but why I didn't hear it before. But
I'm so glad you turned on it because it's such a great album.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think it's probably their most important album. I think it kept them probably going a lot longer. But
yeah.
We talked about that one last time, John. I think I'm going bald.
Yeah, I think I'm going bald. So
John can
all right.
relate.
Well, that'll put a bow on Rush. Want to thank our buddy Brian again for
Thanks, Brian,
for lending us his Rush knowledge. Again, me and Mr. H like him. I myself, I didn't have a whole lot to add to a lot of these later things. And again, I've listened to all these once, so it was a good experiment for me, and just glad that Brian could join us for it. So thanks again, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So next week, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier, Mr. H. Who do we got?
Slipknot.
Got Slipknot.
Yeah, would it surprise you, Brian? We were talking right before you got on. Would it surprise you to know that Slipknot has 4 times the monthly listeners that Rush does?
No, that wouldn't shock me one bit.
No? 12 million to 3 million?
Because
how about that,
newer generation, just that's how they get their stuff, and they're gonna.
How about that Duality? The song has like 860 million listens, which is like twice as many as Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer.
I mean, that's insane.
No, that does surprise me.
But yeah, I couldn't believe there are so many. They have so many songs Slipknot does on 7 albums that are over 500,000 listens, and I think Rush has 1 or maybe none.
Yeah.
It's just, that shocks me, just for a band that basically had a 40-year recording career.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, I hear, I feel like most of their radio popular stuff was within like a 5-year in the early 80s, late 70s. So like nobody has heard anything recent, and it's like, oh, did you hear that new Rush song? Like nobody that's under the age of 40 probably is like, oh, did you hear that new song or whatever? So but that's just my thought with it. And Slipknot is just something that everybody now listens to. I feel like if you're into metal, it's kind of like your gateway metal band.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just the extreme part of it. I feel like Rush is so much more accessible to the masses, right? But I mean, I know they haven't put out, like you said, like the generationally, like they haven't put out anything really great in a long time. So I kind of get that, but just that what their parents know, it's just, it shocks me. But anyway, being as great a musicians as they are, and I mean, they definitely have left a lasting legacy. But it shocks me that a band like Slipknot, that's kind of on the extreme side, is just that much more popular. But
I hear you. All right. Well, thanks, gentlemen, again, and appreciate you. And we will see you in the next one.
Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.